Good evening, everyone. We are group 76, and I'm Minky, and this is my group mate, Jessica. So we will talk about the RFID technology, and we'll first begin with introducing what is RFID, and then talk about the system components and types of RFIDs, and then Jessica will talk about the usage of different types of RFID tags, and then followed by why this technology is so successful. And lastly, we will conclude by talking about the future of this technology. So RFID means radio frequency identification. From the name, we already know that this is the use of radio frequency in order to identify objects. And then the process begins with a RFID reader transmits radio frequency to the space. Then the RFID tag detects the radio frequency. It responds by transmitting the encoded information from the microchip to the reader. And then the reader will pass the information to the database for analysis or storage. There are three basic system components. For the RFID tag, there are microchip and antenna inside. The microchip are used to store the identification number, and this is a unique number for every tag. And then the antenna is used to receive the radio frequency from the reader. And also the reader has an antenna also because it is used to transmit the radio frequencies to the space. And lastly, for the software, it is a middleware that can filter the data and only pass the relevant data to the database for storage. There are different types of RFID tags. The first one is the passive tag. It's passive because it does not contain any internal batteries, and it relies on the radio frequency for the extraction and transmission of information. There is also a type of RFID tag which is called passive, semi-passive. It's like a combination of active and passive tags. It contains internal batteries, but only for the extraction of information only, and then it still rely on the energy from the reader to transmit information. So there are different frequencies used for passive tags, from low frequency to ultra high frequency. The difference is that they are being used to track different objects, and also the reading distance is different. Higher frequency means longer reading distance. And for the active tag, it contains internal batteries, and the batteries are used both in the extraction and transmission of radio waves. And usually the reading range can be larger than 100 meters, which is far more longer than the passive tags. And there are two types of active tags, which are the active transponder and active beacon. The transponder only communicates when the readers are present within a certain distance, but the active beacon sends out coded information periodically. So basically, the batteries are more likely to run out faster for the beacon. And now, Jessica will talk about the usage of different RFIDs.
Exactly. So starting with the passive RFID, it costs around this US dollars, so 15 cents, say, to $5 per tag. And it's very, very small. As you can see here, it's on the back of the sticker pretty much. So it can be made very, very small because it doesn't contain batteries. So stick it to a credit card size, anything is possible. Then the area of use is objects moving through fixed points in a structured system. So I think the best example is in a shop. when you walk out the exit, you always have those two pillars on the sides. And those are anti-theft detection, and they detect, well, they contain the readers, and if you walk through them, they detect if you're carrying a system with a passive RFID tag. There are lots of other applications. I will go into one more example in detail, which is in supply chain. I've chosen this one because it has in the supply chain actually has a large economic impact. So what you can see here is that this is the plant, then this is the warehouse, and this is the retail store, can you say? So from the plant to the retail store, we have different fixed points with RFID readers, which are orange here. And you have to see, you can see that all the products that are tagged with the RFID tag have to move through these RFID readers to be registered, and then you always know where a product is at a certain point, because it's always scanned and goes through the readers. Then active RFID, so it's a bit more expensive and also larger because it contains batteries and various sensors depending on what you want to use it for. So it costs approximately $15 to $100 US dollars per tag. And the area of use is objects moving within a designated area, but in a dynamic system. So imagine a container terminal at a harbor dock, where you have containers coming in, being transported in by trucks or by train, and then these are stored in the dock area, and you always have to know where each container is at every point in time, because when there's a ship and the containers need to be brought onto the ship, then you want to get the right containers onto the ship. But you can't have all containers pass through one fixed access point because the area is just too large. So you have you have readers that centrally located, and they can always track pretty much where the containers in the area are. Another example of active RFID is actually in agriculture. So there you can see a cow with a band around her neck, which contains an active RFID tag. And this tag is better than these old ear plugs, because the tag can also contain sensors. So within this designated area, which can be the field where the animals are, the farmer not only knows that the cow is there, he can also, for example, measure the temperature, and this information is transmitted to the system and the software, where it's hopefully in a nice interface for the farmer to work with, and then he can analyze and track all the information and always knows how his cows are, can track the health and so on. So why is RFID technology so successful? I guess we've already seen it from the examples before, that it can be used in a variety of industries, pretty much every industry that has a supply chain, so it's really pervasive. Then it's improving over time. For example, in energy consumption, in the speed and distance of the transmission, and also the production cost goes down, as for every technology. And then there are lots of innovations in usage. So, for example, RFID is the basic technology for the Internet of Things and also for contactless payment. And then a study by the Pennsylvania State University has actually found a large impact specifically on retail companies, because they really depend on their supply chains to make a profit. So they have better inventory management, they have increased operational efficiency and improved security because of less theft. So RFID technology is really successful.
For the future of RFID, in the technological improvement, they may be improved by a cloud storage of information, because right now a physical server needs to be installed at a point of activity. So if everything moves to the online platform, this can reduce the cost of data management. And also, the passive sensor can be integrated into the system. For example, the sensor can measure temperature and moisture, and this is particularly useful in tracking personal products. And then lastly, there may be manufacturing or design innovations, such as thinner tags and more more powerful tags by improving the capacity of the language models.
Exactly, and then for the business innovations, you can pretty much invent lots of new business models with this RFID chip as the main technology, all of which requires tracking and information gathering of products, of objects, and you can make processes more efficient. And for example, in security, you can, or information business intelligence, you can offer a service that tracks products. And so instead of the owner having to do this, you can just offer a business model that pretty much does this and charges a fee. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's not quite study. The presentation is good. Can I ask you some questions?
Yes.
So, what is the new sector of the passive tag and active tag? That's kind of the industry sector. And you mentioned also clearly in the active tag, the difference is it carries battery. And passive tags are basically they take the energy from the reader, and then they use that energy to harvest this energy and then transmit a small amount of information back to the reader. That's how passive tag works. But the active tag, it carries battery. And then you mentioned about some of the applications, the container business and also the cloud application. Now, the question is, for these kind of applications, for active tag, generally how long does it need to last for these applications in order to keep the active tag working continuously? No idea. I haven't thought about it.
I mean, the longer the batteries last, the better. I mean, if you need to change the batteries the whole time, then the system really doesn't make sense, because then you could also scan the barcode.
Yeah.
The car.
Yes. So the reason to ask about this is because you mentioned some of the interesting applications here is to integrate some of the sensors into the active tag. Now, previously, the tag only carries ID, then its transmission, the data transmission can take a little bit of energy. But now, it can carry sensor, and these sensors need to scan the cloud periodically, and then transfer probably the amount of data it sends much higher than the tag itself. So actually, here, what you're mentioning is not just an RFID, it's actually the integration of RFID and the wearable sensor. And that's basically Internet of Things. So the integrated sensors with the other nodes, classic node itself. So for this kind of thing, actually, power is always a very important issue technologically, because for sensors you can always see the quantity of sensors, quite big stuff. But how much sensor can you actually fit into that small package? And then how much functionality does it come with? I mean, it always it's related to the eventual business model to carry out. So it might be kind of technologically, it might be when you do this study, or later on if you do anything design, way better for you to know the energy from out these potential systems. So that's the only